Hello and welcome to the Copycat Stitch podcast. We're back after 2 weeks, which is, my ideal schedule. Full disclosure, it's not 2 weeks. I've had 3 weeks of knitting time because I actually took so long to edit the last video that there was a week between filming and uploading it. But 2 weeks between uploads, which is the goal. So I've had 3 weeks to knit. Last time we talked through all of my kind of forgotten seasonal whips and the things that I'm going to pull out again for warm weather and put away for cold weather. And some of that I've stuck to, very little of it, but I have no acquisitions. I have no finished objects, but I do have a lot of new works in progress because my cast-on edit is back. I wouldn't say it's in full force, but it's definitely ramped up. And I've cast on a bunch of things since last time. I'm not upset about it. I'm having fun. So we're just all whips today. All whips this episode. I have still not blocked my olivine top from last time. It's still sitting unblocked. Oh, I forgot my... Oh, I'm gonna have to go get my Corran cardigan because I left that downstairs. Yeah, I should go get it now because if I don't, I'll forget to talk about it. I had this one in a different spot than the rest of my whips downstairs because it's like next to my spot on the couch. So I forgot to grab it when I grabbed all the other ones. So today I'm actually wearing a hand make. This is a recent one and today's the first day I've even tried it on since I blocked it. This is the Rosen Malva top. This was a crochet project that I did earlier in the summer when I first got bit by the warm weather bug. And I don't remember 100% of the details. As always, my Ravelry page is linked in the description box. That has all the details about the yarn I used and the dates I made things and, the links to the patterns and everything like that. But this was a crochet pattern made from some sort of viscose Hobie yarn that I've had in stash for a long time. I've been doing a lot from stash. Very proud of that. All of my little cast-ons today are all from stash. And that said, I have started working on my stash update video, which is going to be a doozy. It's not going to come out quite yet because there's a lot going into it, but I do attribute a good portion of my cast-ons to the fact that I just handled all of the yarn that I own and looked at it and re-inventoried it. And now that I'm thinking about it, I want to use it all again, or at least use it up, or somewhere in between. So anyway, I haven't worn this since I blocked it. This is the first time I've tried it on and I love it. I genuinely, I can't believe I like the fit this much. I really didn't realize. Before I blocked it, it was really quite stiff. I believe it's a DK weight viscose and it's crochet, which is always a little thicker than knitting. And I wasn't sure about the sizing because my measurements and everything when I was working on it were entirely dictated by the game of Yarn Chicken, the very much self-induced game of Yarn Chicken that I got into making this because I only had 10 skeins of this and I kind of thought it would be enough, and once I started I realized it wouldn't. So I know in a past episode I've gone into that in a lot more detail, but since this back panel is longer than the front panel, I kind of had this juggling act of trying to divvy up the amount of skeins I had left, the amount of grams I had left between the front and the back panels, reserving enough to be able to do the cuffs around the edges and the finishing around the edges. And spoiler alert, I ran out and ended up skipping some of the finishing steps because I just didn't have any more yarn. But I don't think it's lacking for any of that. I truly love this. I think I'll wear it a lot. As with all of these sort of mesh see-through tops that I make, I just wear it with one of these sort of athleisure bra tops underneath because they're meant to be worn on their own, but I think they work really well. I actually have this one that's pretty similar color, so I think it works great. I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm so glad it came out so well, and I'm glad I put it on today because I knew I was going to be filming the podcast and I wanted to wear a hand make. So I'm really glad I grabbed it because I didn't realize that I loved it so much. So, all right, let's get into this pile of whips. Let's start with the ones that we've talked about before. So this guy we just did a recap on last episode. This is my Fossil Frenzy tee. lots of love for it in the comments. I'm glad everybody's happy to see it back. I'm not that much farther, but I am that much farther because it's so tedious to work on this. I talked about this in the last episode. This t-shirt is so cool, but it is a fingering weight stranded colorwork project. I'm using hand dyed, so I'm alternating skeins on top of that. And the chart is so complicated. It's not the sort of simple enough repeat that you can just memorize the round until the end of the round and then memorize the next one. This is one giant chart. This chart is 2 pages of copy paper wide. So I don't know how many stitches wide it is. It's this many. It's got to be like 150 to 170 stitches wide. You're repeating it twice. That's it. There's one for the front and one for the back. So it's very heavy focus required to keep a close eye on the pattern, to do all this color work. And then on top of that, I think one of the things that has been holding me back, and maybe it looks better on camera, so I'll see in the edit, but these yarns are not as high contrast as I would like for such an intricate color work project. I love the colors separately. I think the main issue I'm having is that my main color here, I don't remember which ones are which, but this like purpley color has a lot of the yellow in it. There's, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's a gorgeous variegated color, but there's really a lot of that sort of green mustardy color in it. And that does make it so that a lot of the stitches that are sort of mixed into the color work that are meant to be a purple stitch end up being a yellow stitch. And there's just not that much contrast. I don't know, maybe when it's done and when it's blocked, you can see there's a lot of bunching here now. I'm really banking on the block with this one because this is actually, I think, one of my first stranded color work projects. I never really used to do them. I mentioned before that I cast this on a couple years ago. This has been in the works for a very long time, and I've been very slow to work on it. That said, the last 3 weeks since I filmed the last podcast, I have done a lot. I've more than doubled the amount of the color work chart that I had done before. Last time, I think in the podcast I said I have 10 or 12 rows. When I looked at the chart, I was actually on row 10. I had just finished row 10. So this is a 55 row chart all in all. And last time I was on 10, as of now, I believe I just finished 26. So I'm nearly halfway through the chart. It took me 2 years and I'm almost halfway through, but I'm demonstrating more momentum now than I have the entire 2 years. So as long as I can keep buckling down and doing a few rounds, it's the kind of thing that when I'm in the mood for it, I'm like very heavy focus. I'm very much in the mood for it. I really enjoy it and I would do it for longer, but it actually starts to hurt my hands because it's such an intense process. And I feel like I have to regulate my tension so carefully because I'm inclined to hold it too tight for the color work. And I'm trying to loosen up and keep my floats even, and it's a lot of yarn management and it's a lot to keep track of, and it's such a small gauge that it does start to hurt my hands. So I have not been able to do more than 3 rounds at a time. And most times I'm only doing 1 or 2 rounds in a day, but it is a nice one, I find, for that stretch for me in the morning when my coffee kind of hits and I get this like burst of morning energy on the weekends. This is a nice one to sit with for a while with no TV or no media or other sensory input, just to sit in the calm with my coffee and focus on this one. I have been enjoying that. I hope I continue to enjoy it long enough to get through these 55 rows, because after that it's going to be the perfect stockinette project to work on. And I'm, pretty low on those. That's a great segue. This one is the project that I forgot to talk about last time. I was doing an inventory of all my whips. This one was right under my desk. It was right next to me on my chair. I filmed downstairs last time. And this is sort of my at work in meetings project, and that's why it was under my desk, and that's why I forgot about it, because it wasn't with my other projects. Even though it was but inches from my elbow the whole time, I didn't mention it. I did actually manage to cast off the body this morning and do the I-cord on the neckline. So, I don't remember what it's called. Something V-neck. I don't know. But this one just needs some sleeves now, and they're not long sleeves. It's very cropped. The pattern is very cropped. I considered adding length to it, and I think I would like it to be longer, but this True Boo is fickle and it's heavy, and I do believe that it will stretch under its own weight with time, and I don't want it to be too long. So I decided to just make it to pattern, partially because I'm kind of sick of this project and the True Boo, and I don't really want to work on it anymore. So I wanted to bind off and be done with the body, but also because I really do think that it will stretch over time and be longer than it is now, even without blocking. It feels heavy. True Boo is, I have a contentious relationship with True Boo. I have a lot of it. I bought too much of it at one point when it was new and I was fascinated by it. It's extremely soft. It's extremely smooth, and you'd think it would be nice to work with, but it can be really, really very splitty. Once you've made a garment out of it, it pills quite terribly, and it's not the most practical yarn for a lot of reasons. I think you can see here when I hold it up, my very messy ends woven in, and they don't look that great from the outside either. I'm hoping a steam block will even it out a little, but there's really no decent way to deal with ends on True Boo. And I cut the yarn as little as possible. There's all sorts of stripes here. I carried the yarn through the entire garment to minimize the amount of cuts. You can kind of see that stripe here. But you know, when I ran out of a skein and had to join a new one, there was ends. I was careful not to let that happen in the front of the garment, but I didn't realize how often it happened right in the middle of the back. So you can see from the inside it's very messy. From the outside you can still see it. It's a little thicker. Again, I'm hoping a steam block will even that out from the outside, and maybe when it's up against my body it won't be so obvious. But I'll be able to wrap this one up pretty soon. The sleeves on this are not long. I mean, it's a t-shirt, but I think that they're quite short anyway. And then they just have another little I-cord bind off. And then this one will be off the needles for good. And maybe I'll wear it. At this point, I'm like, I don't want to wear it because I'll mess it up because this True Boo is so finicky. But it is a nice drapey garment, and maybe it'll be like this one. Maybe it'll just be so lovely and the fit will be so good when I put it on that I can't resist. But I'm skeptical. Okie doke, my Corran cardigan. I haven't worked on it as much as I thought I would. I was really, really full steam ahead with this one for a while, and then I got kind of sick of it. So I think as of last time I had done the entire body and joined the shoulders, and I had done the button bands along the front, and I had not yet done the collar, which I now have, and now I did one sleeve. Maybe you've noticed she's really small. I haven't checked my gauge. This is another one where I'm really hoping blocking will pan out. It does technically fit. It's just got a lot of negative ease. If I put it on now, it's like very tight and form-fitting for a cardigan, and the sleeve is fitted all the way down, which is not what I was going for. This isn't even remotely the finished measurements that the garment should be based on the schematic and the pattern. I think blocking will do a lot. It's a mesh stitch, right? When I just hold it and stretch it, it stretches a lot in both directions. And this is a cotton yarn, so it's not going to bounce back like a wool would. I do think that blocking will open this up a ton. That said, I have not woven in the ends on my sleeve because I'm skeptical that it'll be long enough. And I want to wait until after it's blocked to be sure before I weave the ends in. I am very hopeful that the block will open this up a lot. Like I said, it's cotton. It's this extremely soft Mako cotton from Lion Brand. I got this full quantity of this super pretty royal blue, 7 skeins of it from Goodwill last year for $5. And I'm very proud of this one. And you know, it's just one of those things that I don't think I ever would have chosen this color in a store. If I was looking at a display of Mako cotton in a big box store, I would never gravitate to this cobalt color. because I just tend not to buy vibrant colors like that, or I don't know, it just seems like such a choice. But because I found it at Goodwill and I didn't have a choice of color, that's what I got, and I really love it. This pairing ended up being so unusual for me, but I really, really love it. So it was a happy coincidence that the thrift store forced my hand and got me into a yarn quantity that I might not otherwise choose, but that I found a lot of joy in. So she's really small. I'm confident, but I'm also worried. And if that's not my personality in a nutshell, I don't know what is. So I'm kind of hurrying along. I want to get through that other sleeve so I can block it and see what the status is, because I'm going to have quite a bit of yarn left over at this point. I had only used 4 of my 7 skeins on the body, including the button bands and the neck ribbing and everything. And I had 3 skeins left over for the 2 sleeves, and I didn't even use 1 whole skein on the first sleeve. So if it's really too small, do I have the wherewithal to frog the whole thing and start over because I have enough yarn? I don't know. That might be too much for me. I really love it. I love this pairing of this project with this pattern, and I want it, but I don't know if I have the mental fortitude to frog something from completion back to the start and make it up again in the same yarn. That might be too much for me. We'll have to wait and see. All right, now we have my 3 new cast-ons. I'm going to start with this one because I'm pretty sure I started it like the day I filmed the last podcast. I do this a lot. And it's not easy for me to show that sort of behind the scenes stuff because obviously I just filmed. So usually I don't even remember to talk about it by the time I'm filming the next episode. But sitting down and talking about everything that I'm working on gets my wheels turning, and then I start thinking about it. So 3 weeks ago, sitting down to talk about the fact that I haven't cast anything on lately, and I've been doing so good about not casting on and working on old projects, really got my wheels turning about I want to cast something on, and I did that evening. So I caked up my remaining skeins of the Baja Blast inspired. This is a Taco Bell themed yarn from... So a while ago, I bought this. I pre-ordered this like 1.5 years ago, and I've had it in my possession for about a year, over a year. It's from... I can like imagine the yarn dyer in my head. I know what her face looks like. I don't know why I can't remember what the yarn company is called. You've seen it by now. It's been on the screen. Anyway, she has several times done this small collection called, or it's Taco Bell inspired. I don't know what it's officially called. I know the colorway that I have is Having a Blast because it's based on the Baja Blast Mountain Dew, which is, you know, a cornerstone of my marriage. And then I had another colorway last year also called 90s Taco Throwback. That was sort of this and the pastel pink and purple of that trio of 90s Taco Bell decor. And last year I made the Palm Your Knits tee by Knitting Tipsy. I used this as my contrast color, and I used my 2 skeins of 90s Taco Throwback for the main color on that one. I love that tee. It's so fun. It's so summery, and like the Taco Bell colorways just are the perfect summer like vibes. So it worked out really well. So I had 3 skeins of this and 2 skeins of that. And I bought them with that in mind, thinking, well, I'll make the Palm Your Knits tee out of the 2 skeins and 1 contrast color. And I didn't even use a whole one for the contrast color. And then I'll use the remainder, the 2.5 skeins, for some other project. So last year I picked out the other project, and it's actually been on my queue for like over a year. And this is from Poison Girls. I don't remember anything today. I'm a terrible podcaster. whatever. This little blouse has been in my queue with the intention of using this yarn for over a year now. And I finally just had the urge to cast it on. So I caked up my yarns. I am alternating skeins because it's 2.5 skeins of this hand dyed. And this has worked bottom up. So right now it's a little underwhelming, but I've got a lot done. This is 3 weeks worth of knitting. It is just more or less mindless stockinette. There are some slight increases since you're going bottom up. The waist is ever so slightly narrower, then it tapers up towards the bust. And obviously there's more in the bust. This pattern even includes bust darts, which I've already completed. Yeah, you're looking at the front of it. So the bust darts were a ways back. You can kind of see them here. You can kind of see this diagonal where there's German short rows. Actually, they weren't. They might have been wrap and turn short rows. I think they were wrap and turns. Anyway, there's short rows in the bust. I have done bust darts once before. I did a test knit for S-Knits last year, the seashell tank, and that included bust darts. That was my first time ever doing it. So much easier than it sounds. I didn't even know how to approach bust darts in knitting. I know how to do it in sewing, and like having the knowledge of how it works in sewing made it sound so confusing in concept, but for knitting, I mean, but doing it, it's just short rows. You're just adding a sort of trapezoid shape of extra fabric to the front of it so that you have that extra fabric in the front and not the back. So yeah, I'm past the darts entirely now. I'm back to just knitting in the round until I run out of, well, until I reach the height that I'm supposed to, but there's also increases worked in with that. And then I'll get to some interesting stuff once I get to, is it split for the sleeves? I guess split for the front and back, and then add the sleeves. So this blouse has several options. It's quite customizable. It's so cute. I love Boys and Girls because I love the vintage inspired knitting patterns, and they're quite well written, and there's so much attention to detail in them. I've talked about that before. They're typically very not mindless. This one is a lot of stockinette, so it's turning out to be quite mindless so far, but there's a lot of very conscious, pretty design details in Boys and Girls patterns that makes them so cute and so vintagey. So this one, most of the customizability comes in the fact that there are 3 sleeve options. There's a puff sleeve, a cap sleeve, and a flutter sleeve. And I am choosing to do the cap sleeve. I think that's the one that I would get the most use out of. I think the puff sleeve is a little too flamboyant, and the flutter sleeve is a little too girly for a Mountain Dew top. I mean, the whole thing's very girly. I think that just pushes it over the edge for me. And I just think the cap sleeve is so cute, and that's the way I want to go. So the cap sleeve and the flutter sleeve use significantly less yarn than the puff sleeve, such that there's different yardages given in the pattern for which sleeve type you're going to do. I should be well inside what I need, and I think I am. I've still got probably 180, 190 grams of yarn that I'm working with, and I'm more than halfway through the body. So I'm enjoying this one a lot. I've been working on that one quite consistently, and I'm already lamenting what I'm going to do when I don't have it as my mindless in the round project anymore, because now I've wrapped up on that V-neck t-shirt, and now I'm winding down. I mean, I guess the back and forth should be pretty mindless, but maybe not entirely. See, my wheels are turning. I'm doing it again. I'm talking it out and thinking about projects and thinking, I should cast something else on just so I have an in the round project. When in reality, I should like push myself and get farther through that dinosaur t-shirt. So that's my in the round project. Yeah, but that's not going to happen. I'm going to cast something else on because it's summer and that's what I want to do. But even though I have done so much on that one since last time, I mean, like I've done 100% of what I've done so far on that since last time. I've been working on it a lot. It's not the one I've been working on the most. And this one, I don't even think I ever voiced my intention to make this. I don't think it was even officially in my queue. It was just an idea that nestled in my brain kind of maybe a month or 2 ago, and I wasn't even sure about it, and then I just jumped in head first, and I've been working on this a lot. So I started the Pressed Flowers pullover by Amy Christophers. I think the shawl is more famous. Everybody's seen the pressed flowers shawl. I've seen lots of podcasters make it. I think Venetia, I don't remember her channel name. What? My brain is just off today. I do not have access to my knitting archives today. I apologize for the incompletion of my sentences in this episode. The Woolly Worker, Venetia of the Woolly Worker, just recently finished her pressed flowers shawl, and it's so pretty. Every time I go to Rhinebeck, I see so many of them as sample knits to exemplify and display yarn for yarn dyeing booths. And I love it, and I always think I'm gonna make one. And I never do. And I was thinking about it, and truly, I have so many shawls. I love making shawls, but that's such an intricate one, and I don't know that I need it or I would use it. But the pressed flowers motif is on a whole bunch of different items. I thought about doing the cardigan, but I have been on such a cardigan kick lately, and I kind of just liked the idea of the pullover. So I've cast on the pressed flowers pullover. So let's talk about the yarn, because we've gone through some, it's been a process. So this is a raglan. Let me try to straighten it out. I'm mid-round, of course. So here we go. This is the front way. Of course, it's all tucked up on the needles because it's too small, but here's what I have so far. I'm very keen to see this one on camera, to see the contrast of this. This mint green shows up quite well, but I'm starting to get into the color changes in my yarn, and that looks different off camera. It's less contrast, but it's transitional. This is super potato chippy because I am always dying to see the color changes come out, and it's such a slow fade of a yarn that that's why I've been into it so much, I think, because I want to push through and see more colors of my pressed flowers. So you start this one off, you do the neck ribbing, you do a bunch of short rows in pattern, which is quite confusing if, like me, you have not done this pattern before, or this motif, I should say. It even suggests in the pattern, we launch in right with a bunch of short rows around the neck in motif. If you're not familiar with it, maybe try the shawl first. And I was like, no, I'm so experienced, I can do it. And I could do it, I did do it. But this is my third try. So on my first try, I did successfully do it, but I had chosen a different yarn combo. And I like them together, I still like them together, but the contrast was not there, and I could already tell I was not gonna like the finished product. So I frogged it back. So my main color is, say it with me, Lion Brand Comfy Cotton blend. I have so much of this in stash. I've had it in stash forever. I've talked about it a million times. I've made a bunch of things out of it. I just finished a cardigan that I made out of the blue color earlier this summer. I've really been doing a lot of blue this year. I've been doing so many cool colors. Everything I've worked on today has been cool colors. That's wild. Not normally my thing. I normally do so many pinks. Oh well, that's where we are. So I have this gray color. I have a bunch of different colorways of Comfy Cotton Blend, but I don't have consistent quantities of them. This gray color, which I believe is called Silver Lining, I have 3 skeins of. These are chunky skeins. They're not 100 grams. They're 200 grams. So it's a DK weight. If you haven't worked with it before, it's kind of a heavy DK. I've used it in worsted patterns and it's done just fine. But I also, it works in DK patterns as well, which is what this pattern is. So I knew I wanted to use this for my main color because this is the only solid Comfy Cotton blend that I have enough quantity to be the main color. I have another one that's variegated, but I thought that would be weird with this particular motif. So originally, I can grab it. I had chosen one of the variegated colors of Comfy Cotton Blend to be my contrast color. I have, it's all falling over now. I have 2 cakes in stash of this super pretty colorway called Mai Tai. Can we see it? So this is what I did the first time I started I did the neck ribbing, did all my short rows with this Mai Tai color as my contrast color, got into the round, and I got through not even the first full repeat, which a repeat of this flower motif is like 14 rows because it's mosaic knitting, which means some of the rows are a little shorter. They're compressed because of a large number of slip stitches. So I didn't even get all the way through the first row. I got through like half of the first flower round, first repeat of flowers. It's not even that hot today. That's the thing. It's been so hot and we've been struggling through a heat wave, 2 heat waves so far this year. And this week it's delightful. It is so comfy. It's warm, but it's not stifling. Let's look. It's 81 degrees outside today. I mean, frankly, a little cool for me. I can take it a little hotter. I prefer it to be around 90 degrees outside because I run cold and I like it that hot. Lately we've had it up closer to 100, which is a little much even for me. And this room in particular gets unbearable because the air does not move. Even if we have this central air on, our upstairs level is still quite hot and stuffy just because the circulation in the house doesn't reach up here as well. Our downstairs gets nice and cool. So we tend to not even turn the central air on because you need it most for sleeping at night, and that doesn't make a difference because it's still super hot up here. All of that to say, I don't know why I'm being so like dumb today. I can't even think of another word for dumb. I'm being a little flaky. I keep forgetting my words and stuff, and it's not the heat. So I don't know what my excuse is. Anyhow, it's not even Monday. I got through most of the way through the first repeat of the flowers, and I thought this is not enough contrast. That Mai Tai color is pretty, but it's too variegated. It's too similar in value to the gray, and also it has a lot of the gray in there. This gray color is one of the many colors mixed in, and it's not a slow fade like the one I chose is. It's very muddled and all the colors mix in together. I think it'll work very well in something else. I still love the colorway, but it just doesn't work for this motif. It was the pattern, not the knitting pattern, but the geometric pattern of this motif was totally lost on that yarn combo. So I frogged it. And I thought I'll just go in stash and see what I can use instead. And I came up with this idea, which I'm very pleased about. I don't know if you recall, but a few months ago, I found these 2 cakes of Sheepious Whirl at the thrift store. They were 99 cents a piece, still got stickers on them. And this, I think, is the perfect choice. I'm holding it double because these are fingering weight. They're even maybe a light fingering. They're quite small. Even held double, it's a slightly lighter weight than this Comfy Cotton blend that held single. But it's a slow color change. And because it's so uniform, the cakes are meant to start with the same color and end with the same color. I can hold them double and they're exactly the same point in the color. They're barely off, maybe by a few feet every time I can start to see the shift. But because it's a slow changing color, it's basically like, I don't know if you can even tell right now, but this strand is slightly more of the mint green and a little more of the turquoise, and this one's a little more turquoise and a little less light green because this one is a little bit ahead of this one. But it actually kind of just makes it so that when I'm holding them double, my color changes less stark and it fades it in just a tiniest bit more, so it doesn't bother me at all. So I was really pleased with that discovery that this should be enough of a quantity. It definitely will be. I think I've gotten so far. Obviously, I'm not done with the raglan shaping, but I'm most of the way through. I think I have like 1 and a partial repeat before I split for sleeves, and I'm not even fully out of the color we started on. I can't believe I got a full 2.5 repeats out of this mint green color. So it's gonna be difficult yarn management once I split for sleeves, because I'm going to have to make decisions about cutting the yarn and how I'm going to do the body versus the sleeves, and definitely going to have to jump back and forth between the sleeves and possibly all three, depending on how ambitious I decide to be to manage the color changes. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, right? But anyway, I think it ended up being perfect because both of these yarns, incidentally, I had decided to do this before I even realized, are actually cotton acrylic blends. And they both really rather just feel like cotton, in my opinion. But I like the cotton acrylic blend, which is why I've always loved Comfy Cotton Blend, because it has a lot of the properties of cotton, but it's not as heavy as a 100% cotton yarn because it's half polyester. So this one's half and half cotton, half polyester. The Sheepius Whirl is 60% cotton, 40% acrylic. So it's a little more cottony, but yeah, I'm super enjoying this one. It's so motivating to want to see the color changes that I keep going, and the texture is interesting enough. It's not just knit stitches. There's a lot of purling. There might be more purling than knitting in this. I just feel like I'm purling a lot. But yeah, I'm super enjoying this one. And it's totally seasonally inappropriate. I'm always working on t-shirts. You saw I just did like 4 summer tops in a row. And then just out of nowhere, during a heat wave in July, I thought, you know what I really want to do? Cast on a full jumper, a full pullover, no cardigans. I'm full cold weather. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's atypical for me, but I'm leaning into it because I'm really enjoying it. And that's the one I'm going to work on after I stop filming today. I'm going to go back to working on that one while I settle in for the night because I'm enjoying that one the most right now. Okay. And then one more. And then this one is kind of a whip, but it's kind of not. It's going to be a slow one, and it's going to be an as and when I feel like it project. Because, like I said, I started my yarn inventorying. Well, truly, I've done most of it. So you'll see. There's a lot involved. But a big part of the yarn stash update is that I went through my entire stash and weighed on a scale all of my partial skeins so I can have an accurate read of how much I actually have. I didn't weigh all of the skeins if they're a full skein, and I know they're not actually always 100 grams. If they say 100 grams on the label, there's a little wiggle room there, but for the most part, if it was an untapped skein, I didn't weigh it because I don't have endless time, but anything partial or scraps I weighed. And I do have, as you've seen in the past, a large quantity of worsted acrylic inherited from my 2 grandmothers. I had a bunch on my own from before I started inheriting their craft stashes, and I just have so much of it, and I need to do something with it. So I've kind of got some ideas about making holiday gifts out of it, some blankets. I think it would be nice to make some blankets out of acrylic. I like acrylic blankets. I know that a lot of people have difficulty with acrylic yarn and the feel of it. I think acrylic blankets are nice, depending on the brand. Some of them really soften up in the wash. It's really convenient to have a machine washable and dryable blanket. And, you know, they're quite comfortable. I'm not worried about breathability in an Afghan the way that I would be about a garment, because the functionality is entirely different. So I kind of couldn't get this one idea for a blanket out of my head, so I just started. And I'll come back to it, and I'll probably do more blankets later in the year. I'm thinking of one in particular. I have an idea to do one for my nephew that I know I have the pattern for, and there's others I could do for family members to try to work through this stash of acrylic, because I really don't use it for anything else. I've been sitting on the acrylic for a long time, and I do want to work through it. But for now, for myself, we've been slowly redecorating, as we've talked about on the channel for a while now. I'm trying not to buy new stuff. I am using secondhand, just about everything. So as I acquire the things we need, we're replacing furniture, we're replacing rugs, and sort of reorganizing, getting our home back to fully operational since it was all rearranged for half the year. And I don't have a blanket in our living room that actually matches the color scheme in our living room. All of the blankets that I've made in the past don't match anymore, or I just kind of chose the colors because I like the colors and not because they go with the house, and I would like one that does. So I, inspired by the pillow I made, throw pillow that I made last year out of that set of minis from Sorella yarn. Is it the Astrid pillow? I believe so. I had this set of fingering weight mini skeins in stash for a long time, over a year. The Astrid pillow pattern is a crochet pattern by Mallory Krull, I believe. If I'm wrong about that, I'm so sorry. We've talked about this. My archive is closed. Anyway, that pattern was written for Sorella minis, and it worked out perfectly, and I love the way it looks, and I love the color combination, and that really does sort of fit in with our decor downstairs much better. So inspired by that, I've grabbed a bunch of skeins. Let me show you. I've just grabbed a bunch of skeins and scraps from my acrylic worsted stash, because there is a similar pattern, and you know by now, I don't remember the pattern name. I can't remember anything today, but there's a free version of this pattern on the blog. I believe it's Mallory Krull. It's the same designer. Her blog has a free version of the pattern, and it's just these granny squares that you make, and then you do a crochet join as you go at the end. So it's a ton of work. This is why I say it's going to be an as and when I feel like it project, because you need 80 squares to make the full-size blanket that the pattern is written for. And then you would use a single color to crochet join as you go the whole thing at the end, which would be a lot of work also. So I'm not going to buckle down and do all this, but it is a nice convenient thing when I kind of can't focus on any of my other projects to sit down and just make a few granny squares. So I've only actually sat down and worked on it once. I broke down and started the other day, and I made 7 squares in that one sitting. So just these nice little sunburst ones. They kind of remind me of the sunflower. Actually, I kind of did this one. I chose my colors for this one because it reminds me of the popular sunflower pattern. I don't know. I like them. I started with this sort of limited palette, and then I don't know, I might add more. I feel like I might add pink. I need 80 squares, so I don't think it's too late to add more colors, because I've only made less than, 10% of the squares I need, or around 10%, I guess. But yeah, made a few squares. I had fun doing it. It's fun to mix and match the colors like this. I have no system whatsoever. I'm just picking the ones I like. I'm picking the color that'll look next to the one that'll look good next to the one I just did. I'm using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. I always go up at least 0.5 millimeter because I tend to crochet tightly, and the pattern calls for a 5 millimeter. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm just gonna enjoy slow burn over time when I feel a little bored. Even though I already have a slow burn over time when I feel a little bored crochet blanket project. This is a different one. It'll make me feel better working through these worsted stash. I don't know. I couldn't get it out of my head after I went through all that acrylic yarn, and I think I'll enjoy it. And it'll be nice. Maybe I'll be motivated because I want the blanket. I want to have a coordinating blanket for our living room. Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's all my projects. I did them all. So congratulations. You made it through. We got here. And as you know, if you made it through, this is the end of the video club, which we've gotten a lot of engagement with recently. I think I didn't have as many entries this time as I did last time, which is fine. Just send it in when you feel like it. But thanks to those of you that did send me a picture of your project. I always love to see them. I love the interactivity of the end of the video club. It really makes this a lot less one-sided for me. So please, if you so desire, send on Instagram or to my email, both of which are linked in the description box below, what you're working on. Just send me a little picture. What are you're working on something, probably. I know you are, because you're watching a knitting podcast. So there's a project on your lap, and I just want to know what it is. That's all. So if you don't feel like sending a picture, you could always just comment and tell me, but I do want to see it. which I know you understand because you're watching a knitting podcast. You didn't want to just hear me yap on about my sheepiest whirl. You want to see the whirl. That's how this works. So just send me some pictures, okay? I guess I'm having a day. I didn't realize I was until I sat down to talk to myself for an hour, but I'm on one today. I don't know what's going on. Well, thanks for sticking around. I'm glad you're here. I didn't mean to yell at you. Did I kind of yell at you? Yeah, but you know it's out of love. I love you guys. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. And I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye. Why am I like this?